Hey everybody, this is CJ back at Street Startups, and I'm with my partner Tracy Syfax. Tracy, how are you, partner?
I'm doing great, CJ. Good to see you again, my brother.
Good to see you, my brother. And boy, have we got a lot of talk about today, right? Big stuff, small stuff, and everything in between.
Yeah.
You know, if there was ever a time that Street Startups was built for, I think this might be it. And I know you and I have had a ton of offline conversations, but why don't you bring everybody up to speed on some of the things that we've been kicking around?
Yeah, and thanks again, CJ. And always, man, every week we're together is a great thing. Even in these crises, we haven't seen. I don't think when's the last time we physically been in each other's presence.
You know, it's nuts, right? I haven't seen you in a while, but you know, I'll get up with you.
Yeah, these weekly Zoom calls, man, it's just good to catch up. So yeah, so once again, yeah, so you know, and I thought, as you said, we've been, you know, having conversations offline. You know, we're living in some strange times right now. With all the things that's going on. And I just thought that we couldn't, you know, have a street startup show without discussing what's happening in real time right now, because what's happening in real time right now, it affects everyone. It affects entrepreneurs. It affects the community. It affects individuals. It affects workers. It affects everyone. So I thought, you know, we would spend this time, CJ, just having a conversation, you know, talk about some of the cons, some of the pros and cons of race relationships and working together. And I just thought there's no better people to do it, or no better team to do it.
That's right.
Team CJ Meaning and Tracy Syfax. You know what I mean? So, you know, and I just want to just take us back, CJ. You know, a lot of audience probably don't recognize how we, you know, met and how we end up working together. But, you know, let's just indulge in that. You know, 3.5 years ago, you know, I met you, you know, through a mutual friend, to discuss entrepreneurship opportunities for people that are coming home from prison. And, you know, that mutual friend had gave me your background, told me where you went to school, what you have done over the years. And it definitely intrigued me. And I really thought that, you know, yes, I needed to meet him. I think me and him would be great in working together. And lo and behold, we met at a restaurant, had lunch, and talked about the opportunities and possibilities of working together. Talked about what I brought to the table. You talked about all the experience and everything that you brought to the table. And it was a perfect match, CJ. Yeah. And, you know, lo and behold, 3.5 years later, we have continued that working relationship. We have grown Reentry Ventures beyond, I don't think I could imagine, you know, doing this, what we did 3.5 years ago to where we are now. Yep. On tablets, in prison, teaching thousands of people inside and outside prisons how to start and run a successful business. And, you know, and of course, me and you are a dynamic duo in the classroom. And, you know, race, you know, when we look at race, CJ, you know, and me and you had this conversation before, us getting together would have been a missed opportunity.
That's right. If
we couldn't get together based on some ingrained conscious bias about Black folks, and sometimes in Black folks also conscious bias about white folks.
Yep.
We had let that lead us. If we had let that lead us, CJ, we would never ever have been able to, over the past 3.5 years, do some of the things that we've done. So right. When we look at this modern times that we live in, partner, I just thought it's just no better time to talk about the dynamics, to talk about the opportunities, because one of the things that racism kills, it kills opportunities. It kills opportunity. Yeah. Some corporation could have had one of their best employees if they did not discriminate against that minority or that woman or that gay person.
Yep.
So when we look at those opportunities, they are missing opportunities, man. So I just wanted to have that conversation, partner. You know, I think, like I said, we are a dynamic team. We work very well together. You know, everything that I believe in, especially when it comes to bringing the power of entrepreneurship to urban communities.
Yep.
We believe the same.
Yep.
So it had to work well. So just wanted to have that conversation with you, partner.
No, it's brilliant, Tracy.
Also to tell you that I love you too.
I love you too, man. Love you too. And look, that's the power of all of this, right? You and I get to come together, two folks who do really well at what we do, right? The gifts that God gave us. And we get to share them with other people. And that's the joy of entrepreneurship, right? That's the power of entrepreneurship. And so, but let's dig a little deeper, right? So Kevin Wortham introduces us. I had a 15-year history of working with Kevin in cities across America, walking into some of the toughest neighborhoods on the planet and bringing the power of entrepreneurship there. And then he connects us, and then we're the dynamic duo in the classroom, and a guy from Trenton, a guy from the Bronx, and we're kicking it in the classroom. And then we've got Jill Callahan on the back end. Don't forget Jill, who's handling all the technology on this. Talk about breaking stereotypes, right? So here's a young woman who's out in the leading cutting edge of technology. And all the women, all the folks that are handling our videos and all this, we've got women doing all that work too. We've got Connie, and she's handling all the editing on this as well. So, you know, the mix of people, Frank, let's not forget Frank Sasso, right? Helping us with all the podcasts. So the mix of people that's in on this, to me, is a testament of the power of business and bringing this all together, right? The power of entrepreneurship. But look, let's not deny it. There's issues here that society's facing. I always try to break it down as simple as I can, right? We're looking at the power of entrepreneurship. To me, business makes great business makes great friendships. Definitely. And you and I have come together under this common mission to help others. And I think that's the core of what it's all about, right? Both of us have a sincere interest to help other people. And entrepreneurship allows us to do that. I guess the magic question is, why is it that you and I, and please folks, we're not bragging about ourselves here. You know us well enough to know that now, but we are just talking and having an open conversation here. Why is it, Tracy, that you and I can do that so naturally and so many folks today have trouble doing it? To me, that's the magic question.
Yeah, and I think that's a good question too, CG. And I go back to what I said earlier about those hidden bias. Some folks just don't know. That woman in Central Park that called the police on that guy that was out bird watching, bird watching, you know, saying that he was assaulting her. She was a Democrat who supported Obama, who contributed to Pete Buttigieg campaign. Yeah. So she's a left, you know, a left person on the Democratic side, but still harbors those hidden biases. And sometimes we don't even know that they exist. And it's not just in that community, it's also in other communities also. Yeah. I think once we kind of take those blinders away and stop using that as an issue when we have conversations about what are you qualified to do? Yeah. That's what it boils down to, CJ. It boils down to what you bring to the table and what I bring to the table. Yeah. And I wouldn't care if you was purple. If you can teach entrepreneurship to the folks that I'm trying to reach and do it well, we got to work together. And that's the bottom line. And you know, and I go back, CJ, when I talk about my former employee, John Rowley, and God bless his soul, John. You know, John was my guy, man. I came to John in 1993, right out of prison. Here's a white guy. He ain't got a black person at his company. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Hired me based off, you know, my experiences. I sat down, he told me, I told him my whole story. I just came home from jail. He stopped me in the middle of the story and then began to share his story. And that's where the commonality comes into place. We all share some things that are common, man. Number one is that we all have mothers and we all have fathers. Yeah. So we share a lot of common things that we share together. And John shared this story of dropping out of high school in the 10th grade and becoming an alcoholic and finally just changing his life together. So by the time I met John Rowley, he was running a $40 million roofing company. Yeah. And when he told me that story, he told me, you know, I'm going to give you an opportunity, Tracy. So as one of the only African-Americans at that company, I think John had probably 30-something employees at that time. The ability for me to get into that company and within 2.5 years, work my way up from labor to mechanic to foreman to supervisor in 2.5 years. When I left there, I was supervising 24, 26 guys. Half, the majority of his company, I was supervising. So those are the lost opportunities. Those are the lost things that we lose out when we take race into consideration before we hire people. Yes. We take race into consideration before we support them in their businesses. When we take race into consideration, when we do so many things, it really, really hampers a great opportunity that could be lying beneath that.
Boy, you said it. Tracy, let's go deep on this. What would you say is your breakthrough moment where you became aware, right, or became enlightened that you weren't going to let race matter in your dealings with other people like that? Walk us through that.
Yeah, and that's a good question, CJ. And that's and as an African American man living in America, growing up in the 70s. I mean, born in the 60s, growing up in the 70s and the 80s. I've seen a lot. I've seen a police brutality up close and personal. I've been handcuffed and beat in the back of the head with a shotgun, so I know what that looks like. So harboring feelings of racism and hatred towards other folks, I've learned over the years, CJ, we cannot base people off the color of their skin. We cannot, and until you get to actually know who that person is.
Yeah.
It's like our relationship. I have many relationships throughout the country. My Just Leadership, cohort class. So many white male counterparts and white male female counterparts that went through that course who worked very well with me throughout this country and all over this country, just doing amazing work. So those are the things that we can get done when we put race aside. And as a businessman, CJ, we cannot be successful if we're not catering to everyone.
Right.
And that's why when you talked about how entrepreneurship ties into this whole issue, it's because in business, you have to do business, and you should be looking to do business with everybody.
That's right.
Everybody.
That's right. We talked before at the macro level, at the big level, when you talk about, we say, look, if goods and services aren't crossing over borders via trade, then armies eventually will be crossing over borders in war. And if you break that down into neighborhoods, if neighborhoods aren't trading with each other, then eventually bad things are going to happen. Trade, entrepreneurship, these are the things that connect us. In my mind, it's religion first. And then after that, it's entrepreneurship and trade. That's what brings us together. So you got your faith and your religion. And then for me personally, after that, it's business, it's entrepreneurship. Our folks trading back and forth with one another. And that's a good sign on whether or not there's good relations and solid relationships with folks.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head, man. It's all built on faith, because if it's built on faith and our Christian beliefs, CJ, all other things fall to the wayside.
Yes.
Because it's built on the strong foundations of love and encouragement and redemption and forgiveness and all those things that we're taught. That's what it's built on. And if we can build it on that from the beginning, it will stay with that. But you can tell by some of the hatred that, you've seen on the TV, the guy on the bicycle snatching the flyers out of the little 12, 11-year-old girl's hand because she's putting up flyers in the park.
Yeah.
Just the hatred. It's just
terrible.
It's terrible, man.
Terrible.
It's terrible. And I just can't imagine how someone would have so much hatred in their heart.
Yeah.
Someone that they don't know. No, they're just based off the color of their skin. So, we have work to do. There's no doubt about it. We have work to do, but I can tell you, partner, I feel encouraged by our work that we do together. I feel encouraged by some of the things, all the positive things that I've been seeing on the news. And yes, there's been some bad things, but we cannot brush over the positive things of and police officers and police chiefs and communities working with those communities and coming together and actually marching with those marches. So those are the things we can't gloss over, man. And we have work to do. We know we have work to do, CJ. And I know having you as my partner, we're going to continue to do that work as a team.
Yes, we are.
Making sure folks know that these are the type of relationships that work in America. And this is how we really, come together and have one America for everybody, where everybody succeeds.
Yeah. Well, it's great, Tracy. And what gives me the courage and confidence is we have been doing that stuff. We know it works. We have a track record. I don't know if there's a place in America that you and I couldn't walk into and share the message and have it be accepted. I really don't. I mean, the proof has shown that you and I can go anywhere. And as long as we share with people openly and honestly who we are, what we're about, and why we're there, we've been embraced everywhere.
Yeah.
So
that's just a testament of who we are, CJ, and it's a testament of, like I said, of how well we work together as a team, regardless of race. And you know, when I'm in your company, I am very confident on what you're going to speak about and how you're going to talk about it. And it hasn't been nothing but a blessing to have you in the classroom with me in order to teach this course.
It's been great, Tracy. Really great. And listen, I know we've got some challenges, but I'm confident that we can meet those challenges because we have a track record of doing it. And I also know that there's good people out there who want to do good things, and they just need information. They need some support. They need some help. And we've got that for folks. So I'm ready to get back in the classroom. I'm ready to get back on the beam, and I'm ready to get rolling. Let's talk about that next time. Let's talk about some of the things people can do, you know, not only to help with better relations in their communities, but also get back on the beam when it comes to business and entrepreneurship. How about that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Folks, thanks for tuning in. We hope you had some insights and revelations of your own on this episode. We will see you next time on Street Startups. Peace.
Peace.